A few days ago, we received the first teaser for Path of Exile 3.28, and we'll likely have more teasers to come leading up to the full reveal on February 26th. But I wanted to make a video to catalogue everything we know about a few characters that look very likely to be appearing in 3.28, which mechanics they're related to, and how this could all tie into a new League mechanic. So firstly, the teaser, and why it suggests two prominent characters will be a part of 3.28. This image was posted by GGG with the caption, "The sands of time conspire against you." The image is clearly a desert, and partially buried in the sand is an hourglass that looks very familiar. That's because it's very similar to the hourglasses that we use in the Trial of the Sekhmet in PoE2. Now, we already know from GGG that 3.28 will not be the Trial of the Sekhmet coming to PoE1, but it will be Maraketh themed. Once again, I think we'll be seeing more bridging the gap between PoE1 and PoE2, but the caption is crucial here: "The sands of time conspire against you." I believe that the only other time that we've heard of the sands of time is directly from Zarokh, the floor 4 boss in the Trial of the Sekhmet in PoE2. He mentioned the sands of time during that boss encounter, but why is this significant? Well, we know from a job listing posted over a month ago that GGG were looking for a voice actor for the character Saresh the Weeping Black. But this isn't a new character. Far from it actually, because Saresh has been mentioned by other characters and elsewhere as far back as the original campaign for Path of Exile 1. For example, in Act 9, the NPCs mention him in dialogue for the quest to retrieve the Stormblade.
The goddess lost it, somewhere in the eastern desert during her ancient battle against the necromancer Saresh and his undead horde.
But Saresh is mentioned in much more dialogue across Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2, especially more recently with new items being added into the games. Now, what does Saresh have to do with Zarokh, and how will they tie into 3.28? Well, we have a lineage support gem from Path of Exile 2, it's called Zarokh's Revolt, and this one has some important flavor text. Zarokh's ire built over the centuries as he planned his escape. The Afarud would find what he sought, and then the Weeping Black would break the chains of his prison. This text, as far as I know, is the only mention of any connection between these two characters. And notably, the second and third lines are written as something that will happen, as opposed to something that has happened. But what does it mean? Well, for that, we need to go over the history of each character. Firstly, let's talk about Zarokh. We know from dialogue from the Hooded One in PoE2 that Zarokh was alive as far back as the Winter of the World, which was an event that saw volcano eruptions cover the skies in ash, blocking out the sun and leading to a 1,000-year-long winter. During this time, the Abyssals came to the surface and war ensued. But the Abyssals were eventually driven back underground by the surviving races after Lundara and Solarii were able to put an end to the Winter of the World, once again bringing light onto Rayclast. According to the Hooded One, Zarokh achieved many great things during this time, and he also worked closely with the Tail Woman of this era, stealing their wisdom and becoming the first Chronomancer. However, prior to the end of the Winter of the World, Varashta designed the Trial of the Sekhmet. The proving grounds for the Sisterhood is complete. Though it broke many bones and some backs, the triumph is ours to behold. Zarokh has been a most helpful aid. He came to us at Taljari, but now he is something more. So, Zarokh helped to build the trials, but over time his ambitions grew and he wanted to rule the Vastiri alongside Varashta. However, Varashta didn't want any of that, and Zarokh would find out about this and begin cursing the halls of the trials. It's at this time that Varashta learnt of Zarokh's powers of being able to manipulate time, and this led to her retaliating by trapping him as a djinn in the furthest halls of the trials. But in doing so, she is also trapped there, bound to him. So that's what we know about Zarokh, but what about Saresh? Well, we know quite a lot less about this character, and some of what we do know is from item flavor text that no longer exists in the game. Saresh was a Faradin that was rejected by his own people. He was a necromancer and he was taken in by the Order of the Jinn, but his experiments and research ultimately went too far and the Order seemingly expelled him from their ranks. Saresh was more than just a necromancer though. He was also able to command vast, roiling storms, similar to the sandstorms that Jamunra creates in Act 2 of Path of Exile 2. Sekema Orbala, later to become Garakan, was able to clear these storms using the Horn of Bastiri, and ultimately defeated Saresh, leaving his undead armies without a master. So, at what point did Saresh and Zarokh interact with each other? Well, this is open to interpretation. Zarokh claims to be able to see the past and the future, though his foretellings aren't always correct. It's possible that Zarokh foresaw his imprisonment within the Trial of the Sekemas, and planned to have Saresh free him sometime after, but he may not have foresaw Saresh's defeat to Sekema Orbala. It's also possible that the Afarad, which is likely another name for Farad'n, were unable to find what he was looking for, possibly something to enable Saresh to break the chains keeping Zarokh imprisoned. So how does all of this play into a Path of Exile 1 release? Well, Zarokh is imprisoned within the Trial of the Sekemas during the events of PoE1, and Saresh is dead. Or is he? Because as far as I can tell, none of the dialogue specifically states that he was killed by Sekema Orbala, only that he was defeated. We know that Kulamak was defeated on many occasions, but he always re-emerged in the end. Granted, Kulamak is presumably a significantly more powerful entity than Saresh ever was, but Saresh studied necromancy endlessly and was looking into the secrets of human darkness. Not only that, but we also know that he interacted with Zarokh at some point, so it's possible that he had some way to endure even through death itself. I think in 3.28 we're going to see the re-emergence of Saresh, the Weeping Black, and he'll be on a mission to free Zarokh, and it's our job to stop him. Saresh though, having interacted with Zarokh in the past, may have new powers related to time manipulation, similar to what we see with Asmadi in PoE2, and we may see him using these powers to unleash his undead legions on Rayclast, which in some way could form the league mechanic for 3.28. There's also the potential that we get new pinnacle boss encounters. They already have the model for Zarokh, so that one is quite likely I think, though I'm not sure of the context of how we would fight him. Perhaps Saresh will free him or partially free him, and then we need to defeat him to banish him back to the trials once more. Anyway, that's what we know of so far, and I just wanted to make this video specifically about that connection between the two characters because I think it will play a role in 3.28. But we won't need to wait long for more information. The full reveal is on February 26th, and we'll likely have more teasers before that. So let me know your thoughts on these characters by commenting below, and what do you think the 3.28 league mechanic will entail? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned and stay safe.